Well, the World Robot Conference is underway in Beijing, showcasing the latest technological advancements in the industry. From humanoid robots that can box in a ring to others that can carry out mundane household chores, the exhibitions are a glimpse into how these robots can be adopted for commercial use. Spread across 4 pavilions, more than 300 companies are taking part in the 5-day event, ready to show off their products amid a surge in investor interest across the board. Well, Wall Street Journal's China bureau chief Jonathan Cheng will be up close and personal with these robots in Beijing and joins me now from the Chinese capital. Jonathan, good to have you with us. Now, look, every year it does seem like these humanoids are just getting more and more impressive. What are the standouts so far at the World Robot Conference?
Well, I have to be honest, I haven't been yet. I'm going to go tomorrow, so I can't tell you from my own personal experience, but I do know that exactly what you said is very much true here, that the robots with every passing year are capable of a whole lot more. I think one of the most watched television programs every year in China is the Chinese New Year Spring Festival Gala. And just a couple of years ago, you had many of these robots dancing in sync. Now you have them doing cartwheels and backflips and breakdancing, boxing, all these sorts of things. And you can just see, I mean, anyone can see without being an expert that they're really gaining in leaps and bounds. Sometimes literally, and there's a marathon every year that they do, a half marathon with robots, and the first year they did it, just a few years ago, they couldn't beat the humans. They were all falling over on the side of the road and all the rest of it, but by last year they were already starting to surpass the humans. So you really do see them really improving quite quickly.
Yeah, I've seen those videos and the synchronicity is quite amazing. Now, does China see itself right now as a global leader, particularly in humanoid robotics?
Yes, I think they do, and I think that that's not an incorrect perception. Certainly, the Chinese leadership here in Beijing has made it explicitly a priority. They want to see China be a leader in robotics because they know that it's a nascent field. It hasn't yet been fully established, but I think they see a lot of potential here, just as they did with electric vehicles, with solar panels, with artificial intelligence, with all these sorts of things. I think China now is done playing catch-up. I don't think they want to be number 2. I think they want to be number 1 in all of these emerging fields. And I think robots, I think most people can kind of envision a future with robots in them. Of course, it's been a part of our science fiction and part of our imagination for so long, and China wants to be right at the forefront.
Yeah, and there's no surprises that Unitree is the world's largest humanoid robot maker. It made its debut on the Shanghai stock market. How did it go?
It went very well. It was very much in demand, and its share price jumped 460% on the first day. That just goes to show you how high demand was among investors for a piece of this because, again, it's still very early days. It's not making that much money as far as listed companies go. It has about $250 million in revenue, which is, people aren't buying the stock because of its current revenue. They're buying it because of where they think that this is going to go. And Unitree has long been kind of the most visible of the Chinese companies, but it's not the only one. There are a cluster of them, and perhaps in a few years' time, we're talking about a different company. But I think the point here is simply that China has a lot of innovation, a lot of entrepreneurs that are really pushing the envelope on this.
Are there the investors in China to back them up?
Yeah, that's right. And I think China increasingly wants to raise its money domestically. It wants its companies to be self-sufficient in many ways because part of this is that there is geopolitical tension between China and the rest of the world, many parts of the world, the U.S. for certain. And I think there's a concern here. And in fact, Unitree was very upfront about that. They still derive more than 40% of their sales from outside of China. And that means that if tensions do rise between China and the U.S. or the West more generally, that's going to be a problem for them. And so I think they want to be self-sufficient in terms of raising capital. They want to be self-sufficient in terms of their customer base and in terms of their innovation and the supply chain, all these things that we've been talking about with respect to semiconductors, with respect to autos, with respect to everything else. I think this is very much something that is a live concern here in Beijing.
Yeah, so is this a new front in the U.S.-China rivalry? Because we see that the U.S. government has banned new foreign-made humanoid robots imports over the risks they may pose to American national security.
Yes, I think it definitely is. I mean, drones are also in that bucket as well. Electric vehicles. There's so many things that are now connected in our world. And of course, these devices are collecting data. The data is worth a lot of money. It's worth a lot in terms of national security to know how they're being used, where they're going. They all have recording devices in the sense of audio, video. Those things are very valuable, both from, as I said, sort of a military point of view, as well as from a purely commercial point of view. And I think China wants to make sure that it has control over as much of it as they can, just as the US and just like Australia. Every country wants to make sure that its data is not only safe from others, but also that they can then have their own government or its own companies exploit that information, that data, and benefit from it as well.
And just finally, Jonathan, I know you are heading to that conference tomorrow, but have you yourself observed humanoids around Beijing as you move from place to place?
Sure, yeah. I mean, a lot of hotels, office buildings. I don't know that I would call them robots per se. They're sort of these dumb waiters. They are sort of like a Roomba almost. They're like these moving vacuum cleaners, but they're a little bit taller. They can carry a tray full of food or whatever else needs to be carried. So you'll see these around China all the time. I see them in my own office tower at work. I see them in the hotels that I stay at. I see them in the restaurants that I eat at. And so, yes, it's very much socialized and become quite normal. And, you know, I can't speak for how that necessarily stacks up everywhere else around the world, but certainly in China, it's no longer something that even prompts that much notice. People aren't even pulling out their phones and filming it anymore because it's so standard to see it.
Yeah, it's a real glimpse of the future. Jonathan Cheng, really good to chat with you today. Thank you very much.